The invitation to the Anderson Global merger announcement sat on my desk, its gold embossing catching the morning light. 5 years ago I would have given anything to be invited to such a family event. Now the ivory paper just made me smile. My twin brother Marcus had always been the golden child. Marcus is more focused, they'd say. Marcus understands business. Marcus is our future. Meanwhile, I was just Sophia, the quiet twin who preferred coding to corporate meetings. I picked up my phone as it buzzed. Speak of the devil. Soph, you're coming to the merger announcement, right? Marcus's voice held that familiar mix of condescension and fake concern. Mom and Dad really want the whole family there. Do they? I asked, glancing at my second monitor where financial data scrolled past. Or do they want to show off their successful son's big moment? Don't be bitter, he sighed. Just because you chose to waste your time with that tech startup dash. I muted my laugh. My waste of time had turned into Binary Solutions, the most innovative cybersecurity firm in the country. Not that my family knew that. They thought I was still working as a low-level programmer, barely making ends meet. I'll think about it, I said, ending the call as my assistant Jack knocked on my office door. Ms. Anderson? The final reports are in. He placed a thick folder on my desk. Anderson Global's security infrastructure is, well, it's worse than we thought. I opened the folder, scanning the details. 5 years ago, when my parents had chosen Marcus to lead the family company, I'd walked away. While they groomed him for leadership, I'd built Binary Solutions under a different name, keeping my identity as CEO completely secret. Now, Anderson Global was trying to merge with Turner Tech, and they needed top-tier cybersecurity certification. The kind only Binary Solutions could provide. The kind that required my signature. My phone buzzed again, this time my mother. Sophia, darling, about the merger announcement. Yes, Mom. Well, we've arranged the seating and, would you mind sitting with the extended family? Marcus needs the main table for important business contacts. I looked at the important business contacts list on my desk. Binary Solutions was at the top, listed only under its CEO's pseudonym. They had no idea they were desperately courting their own rejected daughter. Of course, Mom, I said smoothly. Whatever makes Marcus's big day perfect. After hanging up, I turned to Jack. Move up the security assessment meeting. I want it scheduled right before their merger announcement. He grinned, understanding perfectly. The same day. That's a bit dramatic, isn't it? They raced us on Shakespeare, I shrugged. Might as well give them a show. I picked up the invitation again, remembering the day everything changed. Marcus and I were both 23, fresh out of business school. We'd each presented our visions for Anderson Global's future. His was safe, traditional, exactly what our parents wanted to hear. Mine involved complete digital transformation, heavy investment in cybersecurity, and modernization of all systems. Marcus is our only hope, Dad had declared, handing him the CEO position without a second thought. He understands what this company needs. They never even looked at my proposal. Never noticed that everything I'd warned about, digital vulnerabilities, outdated systems, security risks, had come true. Now, 5 years later, their precious merger depended on fixing exactly what I tried to tell them was broken. Jack, I called as he turned to leave, make sure my good suit is ready. The one that doesn't look anything like what the extended family would wear. He nodded, a conspiratorial smile on his face. Planning to make an entrance? Oh yes, I said, turning to my window overlooking the city. After all, they wanted me at their perfect family event. They just didn't know exactly who they were inviting. The merger announcement was in 3 days. In 3 days, they'd learned that the daughter they'd dismissed had become the very person they desperately needed. I picked up the security assessment report again. The company's vulnerabilities were even worse than I'd predicted 5 years ago. It would take millions to fix, months of work, and most importantly, my approval. Sometimes karma needs a little help. And sometimes, that help comes in the form of a signature from the twin they never thought would amount to anything. I opened my laptop and began drafting my presentation. After all, I had a merger to crash, professionally of course. The Anderson Global conference room looked exactly as I remembered it, all mahogany and old money, like success was measured in how much leather you could put on a chair. I sat quietly in my designating seating with the extended family, watching the pre-merger security assessment meeting unfold. Marcus stood at the head of the table, confident in his custom suit. As you can see, We've met all requirements for the Turner Tech merger. Their representatives are already en route for the announcement. Dad beamed proudly from his chairman's seat. Mom dabbed at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Their perfect son, their only hope, about to complete the biggest deal in company history. Then the Binary Solutions team walked in. I'd chosen them carefully, my most impressive executives, all carrying tablets loaded with our security assessment. I stayed in my corner, watching as their faces fell upon seeing the results. I'm afraid there's a problem, my CEO began, pulling up the first of many damning slides. Your security infrastructure doesn't meet our minimum standards for certification. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. That's impossible, Marcus protested. We've spent millions upgrading our systems. Millions spent wrong, came the brutal reply. Your entire network is vulnerable. Customer data, financial records, intellectual property, all at risk. I watched my brother's confidence crack. 5 years ago, I'd presented a detailed plan to prevent exactly this scenario. He'd laughed, called it unnecessary expenses. This is ridiculous, Dad interrupted. We've been doing business successfully for 40 years. And cyber threats have evolved every day of those 40 years, my CEO countered. You're using security protocols from 2018. It's 2025. Marcus loosened his tie, sweat visible on his forehead. How long to fix this? 6 months minimum. Cost estimate around $50 million. The merger announcement is in 3 hours. Bio shrugged. Then I suggest you postpone. No certification, no merger. The room erupted into chaos. Board members shouting, Marcus trying to maintain control, Dad turning an alarming shade of red. Mom had stopped dabbing her eyes and was now openly crying. There must be something we can do, Marcus pleaded. Binary Solutions is the best in the business. Surely you can expedite. Only the CEO can authorize emergency protocols, my CEO replied, looking directly at me for the first time. And they're very particular about security standards. I stood up, smoothing my designer suit, the one that had made my mother ask if I'd borrowed it. Actually, I said, my voice cutting through the chaos, the CEO is already here. The room fell silent as I walked to the front. Marcus's jaw dropped. Dad's face went from red to white. Mom stopped crying mid-sob. Hello, family, I smiled. Surprised to see me up here instead of with the extended family seating? What are you talking about? Marcus stammered. I took out my CEO badge, the one I'd kept hidden for 5 years, and placed it on the table. Binary Solutions. I founded it the day after you all dismissed my security proposal. Built it from the ground up while you were busy congratulating yourselves on making Marcus CEO. That's impossible, Dad whispered. Binary Solutions is worth $3 billion as of this morning, I finished for him. Amazing what can happen when you actually listen to someone's business proposals, isn't it? Marcus collapsed into his chair. The merger needs my approval, I confirmed. My signature. My certification. Funny how things work out, isn't it? The silence in the room was deafening. 5 years of dismissal, of patronizing pats on the head, of being relegated to extended family, all shattered in one moment. So, I said, taking Marcus's place at the head of the table, shall we discuss how this is going to work? The Turner Tech representatives would be arriving soon. And they were about to find out that Anderson Global's future depended not on the golden son, but on the daughter they'd pushed aside. I opened my laptop, pulled up my old security proposal from 5 years ago and smiled. Let's talk about digital transformation, shall we? The next 2 hours were a masterclass in poetic justice. I sat at the head of the table, Marcus's seat, Dad's seat, the seat that should have been mine 5 years ago, and laid out exactly what it would take to save their precious merger. First, I said, pulling up my presentation, Binary Solutions will take over all cybersecurity operations for Anderson Global. Complete control, no interference. But that would give you access to everything, Marcus protested weakly. Access I could have had anyway, given your pathetic security, I pointed out. The difference is I'm offering to fix it. Dad, who hadn't spoken since my revelation, finally found his voice. The cost is non-negotiable. I displayed the contract on the screen. $50 million for the overhaul, Plus Binary Solutions gets 10% of Anderson Global shares. 10%. Marcus shot up from his chair. That's worth less than what you'll lose if this merger fails. I cut him off. Turner Tech will walk away, your stock will plummet, and every other potential partner will know why. Mom dabbed at her eyes again. Sophia, darling, surely we can discuss this as a family. Like we discussed my future 5 years ago? I turned to her. Like we discussed seating arrangements for today. The room fell silent again. My Binary Solutions team sat quietly, tablets ready, watching the family drama unfold. They'd known this was coming, had helped me plan it for months. The Turner Tech representatives will be here in less than an hour, I continued. You have 2 choices. Sign my contract now, or explain to them why your company isn't secure enough for a merger. Marcus looked at Dad, desperation in his eyes. Dad looked at the board members who were all staring at their watches, knowing every minute brought them closer to disaster. Sign it, one board member finally said. We can't lose this merger. One by one they agreed. Marcus, his hand shaking, signed first. Dad took longer, staring at me as if seeing me for the first time. You planned this, he said quietly. All of it. No, Dad, I corrected him. You planned this. The day you decided Marcus was your only hope. The day you dismissed everything I tried to tell you about modernizing the company. I just built something better while you weren't paying attention. As the signed contracts were copied and distributed, I stood up. Now about the merger announcement. I believe I was seated with the extended family. You can't possibly expect to sit there now, Mom burst out. Of course not. I smiled. I'll be at the main table. As CEO of Binary Solutions, I'm now one of those important business contacts you wanted to impress. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The next hour passed in a blur. The Turner Tech representatives arrived to find Anderson Global's leadership looking shell-shocked, Binary Solutions team efficiently taking control of their systems, and me, the daughter they'd dismissed, sitting prominently at the main table. When Marcus stood to make his announcement, his voice trembled slightly. We are pleased to announce that Anderson Global will be merging with Turner Tech, with enhanced security provided by our new partners at Binary Solutions. I caught his eye as he spoke, saw the moment he realized that his only hope speech from 5 years ago had come back to haunt him. Now he needed my help. My approval. My signature. After the announcement, as champagne was being served, Dad approached me. You could have told us, he said. About Binary Solutions. About who you'd become. Would you have believed me? I asked. Or would you have dismissed that too, like everything else I tried to tell you? He had no answer. I picked up my champagne glass, addressing my family one last time. The security overhaul begins tomorrow. I suggest you all update your passwords. Though, I smiled, sipping my champagne, I already know most of them anyway. As I walked out of the conference room, I heard Marcus ask Mom in a shocked whisper, was that suit Valentino? Yes, I called back without turning around. Last season. I bought it myself. With my wasted time money. The door closed behind me, leaving them to contemplate how completely they'd underestimated their daughter, their twin, their supposed failure. They'd given Marcus everything, claiming he was their only hope. But in the end it was my signature they needed. My approval. My success. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving them wrong. It's becoming exactly what they needed most. I stepped into my waiting car, Jack already updating me on Binary Solutions' latest acquisitions. We had work to do, companies to secure, success to build. After all, I had 2 companies to run now. And unlike some people, I'd earned every bit of it.